Hello everyone and welcome back to another Arty class hosted by Shopkeep Arty, the shop platform used by artists, galleries, schools and students to create and run their own shop and sell products and services without the usual hassle. Visit our website or YouTube page and there's loads of videos all about how our platform helps support your hobby or profession. For those watching for the first time, be it on this interactive webinar or live on YouTube, our free weekly RT classes feature award-winning artists and are designed for all ages, providing a creative escape every week on a Tuesday at 2 o'clock UK time. On Thursdays, we sometimes run RT classes and other sessions for our patrons. So if you enjoy it today, you can support our cause for as little as £1.50 a week and get an extra RT fix. You do need to register for each interactive webinar, and you can do this by visiting shopkeeparty.com/Arty classes, and I'll just show you how easy that is. You may have come to us through this before, but it never hurts to go through this process. You click on Arty classes, and then on here you'll see you see our archive, our video archive for our Arty classes, and also our workshop archive as well, which is our 2-hour plus videos that you can pay to unlock. And obviously this is Sujit's session here, and you can see all the up and coming ones that are happening in the coming weeks. And you can also see Sujit's workshop as well, which is on the 15th of October, which we'll be going into a little bit more in more depth later. I'd also like to draw our regular viewers' attention to a couple of upcoming things, which are going to be, I'm really excited about this. We've got a gold and silver Olympian, medal Olympian, who's going to be sitting for Anya Devine, who's a portrait artist. She won young portrait artist of the year. And we've also got an Arty class coming up, sponsored by a Nitram charcoal, and there's going to be some free goodies given away in that one as well. So that should be really exciting. So really looking forward to that. Our free Arty classes are designed to give a great taster, but we then give you the opportunity of booking a full workshop webinar with that artist, as you saw there with Sujit's one that's coming up on the 15th. This is a much more immersive experience where you'll spend 2 to 3 hours with the artist and learn a lot of their tips and tricks for creating amazing art. It works out at around £10 an hour, which is really great value. This week we're welcoming Sujit Sudhi, a professional artist living and working between Chicago in the US and Kochi in India. Today he's in India, so it's our first event live from India, which I'm really super excited about. Sujit specializes in painting landscapes and florals in watercolor and conducts workshops in North America, the Middle East and India. His work titled Morning Light was featured in the prestigious Splash, the Best of Watercolor, which showcases the top 120 paintings by artists all over the world. So really looking forward to this Arty class. As always, Sujit and I can't see or hear you. So you can either type your question in, if you press the bottom, there's a Q&A button there. You can just type your question in there. Or if you actually want to put your question directly to Sujit, there's a little hand icon and you can raise your hand and I can invite you in to ask your question direct. So it's a really great opportunity to really get a feel for how they're painting and ask the questions as you paint along. If you're watching on YouTube, there is a bit of a delay, but I can actually see what's being asked there. So if you do have a question, type it into YouTube and I can then put that to Sujit for you as well. Finally, we'll stop around the halfway mark to take a short break, and we'll ask Sujit to outline his exclusive workshop that will be coming up on that 15th, Thursday. I think it's the Thursday, the 15th of October. But for now, it's time to hand over to our main act, to Sujit. Hello, Sujit.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for this opportunity. And it's perhaps the first time I'm trying to do something of this sort, which involves participants from different, continents, for instance. So, well, back in the day, I used to do in-person workshops, but so for a long time, I've not done anything of that sort. And so it's great to be amongst artists / aspiring artists. And so I hope today's painting will you'll probably learn a thing or two by watching me paint today, and will hopefully inspire you to take up the masterclass that's coming up soon.
Yeah, brilliant.
So what we're going to do today is going to be based on this sketch right here. I hope just going to hold it up for you so that it fills the frame. Is that good enough?
Yeah, that's great.
All right, all right. So this is a sketch that I did on location. If my memory serves, it's from a small town called Cresco in the state of Pennsylvania in the United States. It was the beginning of fall, and then there was this water flowing down this stream or whatever it is, and with some fall colors coming already. It was a nice spot to sit down and sketch. So, and then what I was trying to capture here is the movement of the water and the nice fall colors. What I've done is that I also do have a sort of a sketch here, which is a watercolor sketch, a very loose sketch of the exact same scene. This I did so that I get an idea about the values and about the colors that I'm going to use and stuff like that. This is by no means a finished painting. It's just a kind of a prep sketch. But today we're going to do a finished painting based on this the scene right here. So I'm going to put the sketch away and get started with the drawing. I usually draw with a 2B pencil. This one I think is 4B. The reason why I chose 4B today is because 4B makes darker lines, and so easy when you do it on camera. All right, so let's get started with the drawing. The first thing I'm going to put down here is the horizon line, and I'm going to have it around the low 1/3 of the frame right here. That's my horizon line. So everything below this is going to be the water, and this is going to be the trees and lands stuff. And then, okay, I'm going to darken it a bit so that you can see it. Then I have this rock shapes here. So I'm just going to, and there's one on this side here. So I'm just going to briefly outline the shapes. Yeah, there you go. And there's another one coming right here. And then the large rock, smaller ones here. Not really worried about the shapes and such, because I'm not going to go for photorealism. I'm just, my focus is going to be on to capture the mood and atmosphere of this scene. So it doesn't matter if the shapes don't exactly match. And some of these things I just modify on the go as I paint. And then I have this large tree here, which is the main sort of the focus of attraction. So it's just briefly outline the tree shape here. Yeah, that's all it takes. What I'm doing is not drawing the tree, you know, in a detailed manner. I'm just marking the position of where I have the foliage going in and everything. The rest of the talking is going to be done by the brush. So let's get started. I'm sorry about the shadow of the phone on the surface, but I think when we start painting, it's going to go away.
Yeah,
right, so
we've been trying to sort out the lighting situation as well, because the fluorescent lights are creating slight bars across the page. So we've tried lots of different things. So we'll work that out for the private workshop. But unfortunately, you'll just have to deal with a few lines from time to time. So sorry about that. Sujit, we've had a question from Rajesh saying, "Can you tell about the paper? What type of paper are you using, and is it rough?"
Okay. Yeah, so this one's cold press paper. It's 300 GSM in weight. It's a quarter sheet. It's a quarter sheet in size. So that's 15 by 11 inches. And it's not very heavy paper. Like I said, it's 300 GSM. it's good enough for this size, but if I were to paint larger, I would go with a heavier paper like 640 GSM. I do not remember what brand of paper this is, but you know, I don't have a preference for brands. I've tried all sorts of paper like Arch and Fabriano, brushstroke. They all work well. Yeah, I usually use cold press or rough, but this one's cold press.
Okay, great.
Oh, all right. And then before I get, I'm sorry?
Sorry, Donatella asked, the sketch that you showed was very beautiful. What medium did you use for the sketch? That you did?
It was a pencil sketch.
It was just pencil, okay.
A pencil sketch, yeah. I was done on location in my small sketchbook.
Yeah.
Just a quick pencil sketch. And I might have added a few dark accents after I got back to my studio, but yeah, it's just pencil.
Okay, great. And right. Roberta on YouTube commented on the dark circular shadow. So we commented on that. The issue that we had actually, Roberta, was the fact that when we did a test drive yesterday, I contacted Sujit a bit earlier and we had natural daylight, and it's obviously a bit darker now in India. So we're going to have to work out with regards to the workshop, because that'll be later. We might even look to move the time. I don't know. I'll have a chat with Sujit a bit later, because I hadn't thought about how dark it would be in India. So a bit of a learning curve. That's my bad. Do we have to wet the sheet, has asked Shefali.
Yeah. We're going to work wet and wet with the background.
Perfect.
So we'll get to that step right away. So before I get there, I just want to show my palette. Just hold my palette. This is the palette that I'm going to use. I like it because of the large paint wells. I've got my paints arranged from cool to warm, so blues and greens, yellows and reds. And then I like this palette because of the large paint wells, because it allows to pick up a lot of paint with the brush. But I sometimes use a dinner plate as a mixing, as my mixing area, because it's easier to clean. So it's a bit of a combination of both. And I do have two jars of water here. One of them is to rinse my brush, and the other one is for clean water to wet the paper and such. All right, so let's get started with the painting process. Step one is going to be to work on sky and the background. So the first step is going to be to wet the entire sky area. So let's do that right away. I'm using a clean, damp brush, and it's a large mop brush. I'm just going to go ahead and wet the area all the way down to the horizon line. But I'm being very careful to paint around the rock shape here, because there's light falling on the rock, on this rock shape here. We'll grab the sketch view. There's light falling on this rock here, so I need to preserve the whites. So that makes it important that I do not wet that area. So I'm being very careful to paint around the rock shapes. And then always make sure when I wet the paper, I put in a lot of water and make it soaking wet and allow the water to flow, because the soul of watercolor is a flowing pigment. All right, so now that that's done, let's get to the part where we paint in the sky. But what I'm going to do is, as you can see, I have this large tree here, and like I mentioned, the sketch was done in the beginning of fall, so there's a bit of fall colors on this tree here, as you can see from my prep painting. So I also want to put in this tree shape and the background at the same time. So it also means that I need to have some of the wetness right here. All right, so while the paper soaks in the water, I'm just gonna get my washes ready. It's gonna be the tree shape first, for which I'm going to use gamboge and some permanent orange. But these are just my choice of colors. You could use the ones that you have. Any orange, any yellow should work. Like we always say, color doesn't matter, values do. So yeah, just make your choice with respect to colors. It doesn't matter.
Rajesh has asked, which brands of watercolors do you use mostly, and which are good for this types of painting?
I've tried several brands. I've used these ones that I have right now is called Camlin, which is the most popular brand in India. But I've used General Smith, which is obviously really good. And then I've used Rembrandt by Royal Talents. It's pretty good too. So I don't think I have a preference of one or the other. Thing about what I like about Daniel Smith is that some of those pigments are very granulating, which gives a nice twinkling effect to your paintings. But Camlin is about 1/3 the price of Daniel Smith, and it just works fine for me. So yeah, Camlin works.
Now Shafali's asked, is it possible that we can see when you're mixing color?
Oh yeah, sure. So I'm working on mixing the fall colors on the tree here. So I'm going with gamboge and permanent orange. So I'm going to have a mix of those two in this area. So, and then as soon as that's done, I'm going to work on the sky, which will be cerulean blue, and then work on the background. The reason why I am going to do the large tree first is because I want to have, it's a pretty large shape, and it's going to grab a lot of attention, not just because of the size, but also because of the fact that it's got very vibrant colors. So I want to have maximum transparency here. So I do not want anything underneath. So I don't want to put in the blue of the sky and then go over it with the orange. I want to just make it completely transparent. So that's the reason why I'm going to go with that portion first. So, all right, so let me see if it's wet enough. Yes, it is wet enough. Let's go with the light shapes here first. That's my tree shape, and then just drop in some of the. So as you can see, the light is coming in from this corner. So I'm going to have to drop in my shadows, color for the tree on the opposite side of the light source. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. Right, while that's drying, I think it's a good idea to work on sky wash. So it's going to be cerulean blue. Just going to go with long, broad strokes because with all the activity around this area, with all the background trees and everything, it makes sense to not have a busy sky. So just going to have the blue all over. And then at the points where my brush is missing the paper because of texture, it might create some white empty space, which will look a bit like clouds and such. So
Nabojit said, what color have you used for the sky?
It's cerulean blue.
Okay.
Cerulean blue. All right. So look what I did now. This is the problem with talking while you paint. I have this large rock here, and I painted over it. So I'm just gonna lift out the paint and mop it out using a paper tissue. So yeah, that works.
Now, Nabojit said, can you move the camera up a bit to show the palette? Well, Nabojit, we did try that yesterday, but the thing is, it's a bit of a balancing act between seeing the painting close up and then having it too far back, so you can't really see the painting very well and see the palette. So I think for the workshop that we do, I think what we might consider doing is seeing if we can get a third camera as well, so that we can kind of or a phone or something and have a look at that as well. So we'll try and sort that out for the workshop. Sorry, back to
Right.
you, Sujit.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I heard what he said. Yeah, that makes sense. We've got a few problems to sort out for the workshop. The ugly shadow and the maybe the timing itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Right, so here we go. I have the sky in place, and I have the large tree shape, the initial watch for the large tree shape. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on the background a bit here. I'm going to use cobalt blue for that and paint in large shades indicating the background trees with absolutely no detail whatsoever. What it does is that, because of the fact that there's no detail on them, it gives the impression of distance and maybe a bit of mist as well. So while I'm
Now, Janet said that her cerulean blue is very different to your cerulean blue, which is interesting. I don't know whether there's any variances in different countries and how they what colors they do.
Well, it could also be that I'm not very careful with when I pick up paint from my palette. I do not always rinse my brush thoroughly and stuff like that. So sometimes I have some leftover pigment which goes into the paint well. So it's very likely that my cerulean blue is contaminated with something else. Yeah, it's quite possible. So yeah. All right. So I mixed up cobalt blue with a little bit of gamboge here, and I'm just painting the background with that. Because it's a pretty large shape, I'd like to vary the color a bit. So I also am going to use a bit of yellow ochre so that there's a bit of variety, because otherwise it gets a little boring. So basically, this background is going in now, and it's just going to be large, big, broad strokes indicating tree shapes and with no detail whatsoever. All right, so that should do. And then I have this this tree shape right here. So I'd like to put it in right away, and I would like to have it while this is wet. But I want to make sure that there's enough wetness. Yeah, it's wet enough. So what I'm going to do is use a thicker mix of cerulean blue with gamboge, with a touch of burnt sienna. Just paint in that tree shape there. As you can see, I'm using brush drawing now because I did not have the tree drawn as part of the first step of drawing the the shape. So just using brush drawing to indicate the tree shape. Yeah, that should do. What it does is it sort of balances this large tree shape here. So that's the reason why I was very careful about putting that in. If it doesn't, it's the weight of the painting is going to be on this side, and that is not an ideal situation. All right, so that is done. So let's just finish up the background a little bit by adding a bit more variety. Since it's a fall, you have the liberty of using weird colors for your trees. By weird, I mean reds and magentas and pinks and stuff. So I'm just going to do that. So it conveys the impression of fall. So it not only does that, but also makes sure that there's a bit of variety in the background, and it's not so if it's just one large green shape, it's just going to be a little boring. So I'm just going to introduce some fall colors in the background. Yeah. All right. So it's beginning to dry up, so I'm just gonna leave it at this point and not mess with it anymore, because the last thing you want to do is mess with the drying wash, and that is a sure shot formula for mud, and watercolor is notorious for that. So I'm just gonna, you know, just allow it to dry now and then work on the rest of the painting. All right, so what we can do now is maybe get started with these rock shapes. So what I'm going to do is wet the rocks with a clean, damp brush, and then go ahead and paint in those shapes. With a small round brush to start with, and it's going to be cobalt blue here. I'm being careful to leave a small band of white on top to indicate the rocks catching sunlight. And this is yellow ochre, and maybe a little bit of burnt sienna at the bottom, so to indicate the rock shape. Let's carve out another rock here. See how the rocks are taking shape. We do not need a lot of detail over here because these are the rocks in the background, and so we want to make sure that you barely, you know, suggest these shapes and just leave it at that, and do not go to any sort of details. Because if you do, then it's going to jump to the front and mess up with your composition. Right, large rock shape here. Let's get some yellow ochre and some blue. Blue is going to be cobalt blue, and then what I'm going to do is, I did wet it a while ago, but I just want to make sure it's wet enough. There you go. Then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to give it a good So the light's falling from here, so make sure that I leave a bit of white on top. But since I had pre-wet the rock shape, it's going to create a soft edge, which makes it look like it's a rounded sort of rock. Then I'm going to drop in some darks here. Using blue, this is ultramarine blue, and it's mixing with the burnt sienna that I already put in and creating that darkish color. As you can see, it doesn't matter what you put in terms of color. What matters is the value. So it's up to you what color to use, and as long as the values are right, it should work. All right, I'm okay with this rock shape here, so I'm just gonna leave it at that and work on. Let me squeeze out some burnt sienna. I need more of those. Step 2 is to work on this large rock here. So pre-wet it, then maybe going with some yellow ochre to begin with.
Oh, Shafali saying going very fast can't match the speed. So maybe let me just do a little poll with everybody that's on the webinar, and I'll just see how you're all doing with, do you need more time? So if you can just say yes or no, and therefore if you say yes, we'll try and slow down just a little bit. And if you say no, oh, it's kind of 50-50 really. Yeah, so I would say about 50% would like a little bit more time, would like to slow down a little bit. So if we can just go a bit slower for a while.
All right. So yeah, I was trying to take advantage of the wetness of the paper, because I was really working fast.
I know, it's really difficult, isn't it? You're having to juggle.
Yeah.
Rajesh also asked, can you tell me about the brushes that you're using as well?
Okay, so at this point I'm going to stop and I'm going to let everybody catch up.
Okay, that's
as you can see, I almost finished this. Let me just finish this.
Why don't you finish that, and actually we could then just have a chat about your workshop as well. It'd be a good.
Yeah, sure. So I'm just going to get this piece done. So because if I let it dry, it might not turn out to be what I want it to be. So yeah. All right, I have this rock shape here. I'm kind of okay with it. So yeah, it's a good time to take a break, maybe.
Okay, perfect. So what I'll do is, so we'll just take a little bit of a break while you catch up if you need to catch up. But in the meantime, we'll just have a few minutes just to discuss what Sujit plans to do in his workshop, which is on Thursday, the 15th of October. We've currently got it set at 3:30 in the afternoon, but we might actually make that a bit earlier, as previously said, with regards to a bit of daylight. So I'll have a chat with Sujit about that. So please be flexible on time, but it will be happening on Thursday, the 15th of October. So Sujit, tell us a little bit more about what you plan to do in your workshop.
Thank you. Well, today we are doing a quick painting of a scene which involves flowing water.
Yeah.
But as you can see, there's not a lot of water in this painting. It's just a small portion at the bottom, and then it's just it's a brook or a stream or whatever it is. But I'd like to focus on advanced techniques with painting flowing water, and for which I've chosen a slightly different subject. I'm gonna show the painting to you. So this is what we're gonna paint in the workshop, and as you can see, it's got flowing water, but it's got a slightly more complex scene as opposed to the one that we're working on right now. So it's got this water flowing here, and then it's got this water flowing down. So you've got to make sure that the softness and the movement of the water is conveyed. So I'm going to focus on that during the workshop. And basically, water is interesting to paint in watercolor, but it's also a very challenging subject. And very often, what's more important is what you do not paint as opposed to what you paint, because you're required to allow unpainted white of the paper to shine through to depict water. And then a lot of people get carried away with painting water, and then just end up throwing in all the paint and missing the white. So what I'll focus on is how to make sure that the whites are retained, no masking fluid whatsoever, just painting around the whites, and how the impression of flowing water is conveyed. Let me show it one more time to you. So, all the movement in the water and the, so stuff like that. That's what I'm going to focus on. Well, then there's this backdrop. It's got this large tree and everything. So we'll also briefly touch upon that portion as well. And yeah, so that's basically what's it's going to be. Sorry.
Perfect, brilliant. So, so obviously this will be on the 15th of October, as previously said. If you're one of our patrons and you qualify for a free workshop each month, please do let us know via patreon.com and that you want to join this one, and we can then sort that out for you. Alternatively, you can visit Sujit's shop and purchase your entry ticket on there. Or if you can't make it, you can also pre-order the video. You'll also be pleased to know that Sujit has agreed to launch some hot tickets. So that's going to be great, which will be available just for the next hour, and there'll be a discounted price. So if you're new to our channel, we sometimes reward those who tune into our live events rather than watching later on YouTube with this type of deal. So for the next hour, instead of our normal price of £35 for the workshop, you'll get a 15% discount, making it just under £30, which is an amazing value for a 2 to 3 hour workshop as well. So I'm going to paste the special link both on the chat feature of this Zoom webinar, but also on in the chat of YouTube, and that link will take you through to the hidden page on Sujit's shop so that you can then purchase that. But as I say, that will only be around for the next hour, so until about well, 3:30 UK time. So I'll do that. So if you are interested in joining Sujit and myself for that workshop, now's the time to do it, because it's a great deal. Okay, brilliant. So I'll hand back to you, Sujit.
All right, thank you. So I'm just gonna, since we are painting against the clock and we have about 30 minutes left, I'm just gonna
maybe a little bit less. Maybe a little bit less. The time goes very quickly.
All right, so I'm gonna have to rush through the rest of the painting so that I finish it in time. All right, so just gonna get going with it. I hope everybody who's behind is caught up now. So the next few steps are to finish these rocks here, and then the water, and then we are done, and then maybe work on this large tree. We have the basic shapes of these rocks and everything established right now. What is left is these functions. Let's get that in right away. So with the light falling from this side, I've got this rock here, but I'm gonna make sure I've got some white. As you can see, I'm using a dry brushing to indicate the shadow side of that rock. And then because the bottom of that rock is going to come into contact with water, it's going to be soft. So I'm going to use clean water to soften out that part. And then just strengthen maybe the shadow side of the rock with some darks. This ultramarine blue. Soften out this portion here. And then I've got this other rock here. So I'm making sure the bottom of these rocks are soft, because the water is going to be flowing against them. Right.
By the way, Sherry on YouTube, you asked about the negative painting around the white. That is correct. So when you paint around the shape and you leave the white behind, that's called negative painting. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, thank you. Then some larger rocks over here. So I'm just gonna wet these and get those out of my way. As you can see, I'm using big bold strokes, not getting bogged down by the details and such, because good painting always works when you have large shapes and mere suggestions as opposed to a lot of detail, unless you want to paint hyper-realistic, but that's not my genre of art. So I just go with big bold strokes to ensure that everything I want to say is merely suggested. So it's something that you want to think about and consider if you want to get serious about watercolor painting. All right, so I want to make sure this large tree here stands out. So I want to put in some darks in there so that it pushes the tree forward. And I'm going to use some negative painting for that. I'm going to mix up a very thick mix of sap green and Prussian blue with a touch of burnt sienna to it. Just something that's very close to black or blue. And then it's going to work around the tree shape. And as you can see, as soon as I did that, this gave the tree a little more definition, and it also sort of pushed it forward, right? So that's a tricky play. I'm using negative painting to paint around the tree shape that I put in the first step, so that it creates and it's carving out a clumps of foliage. It's a bit of negative painting for the branches, maybe. I like to use my large brush in such situations so that I don't get bogged down with the details, because it makes big strokes and then covers larger areas in one stroke, and so you don't get into putting in a lot of detail. And then when I get to the point where I want to suggest some detail, that's when I pick up my smaller brush. When painting trees, it's a good idea to paint big clumps of foliage without painting every single leaf and such. And then towards the end of it, what you do is you put in some dabs of paint like so, indicating leaves. The trick that it displays in the eye of the viewer is that it gives the impression that every single leaf of this tree was painted carefully. But what you actually did was you got away with not painting anything except the large shapes. And these small little leaves jutting out from the main shape creates the wrong impression that a lot of these leaves and everything was painted. But so a neat trick to play. I keep saying that as artists, we're all illusionists and tricksters. Everything that we do is a trick, and most of the painting is actually finished in the eye of the viewer. All right, so as you can see, the tree did come out okay, and I'm pretty happy with it. I do not want to mess with it anymore. And then I'm just gonna leave it at that. I've got some of these yellows coming in on my rock shapes. I'm just gonna lift it out a bit. All right, that'll do. Maybe some darks, the bottom of the rocks to create a bit of depth. Everything is going to be a mere suggestion, because that's all we want. Otherwise, your painting is going to look overworked, and it's going to take the fun out of looking at it. All right, so that'll do. Maybe darken it a little bit here. As you can see, I've focused my attention on this portion here, because that's where the activity is taking place. I've got my darkest darks against the lightest lights here. I've got most of the detail here, and everything else is a mere suggestion. All right, so, oh, there's one little rock coming in here, so I'm just going to finish that. Like I said before, I want the bottom of all these rocks to be soft. Oh, I'm gonna pick up the wrong brush. I'm sorry. Right, so I want the bottom of all these rock shapes to be really soft. So as soon as I paint them in, I make sure that I run a damp brush over it to take off the hard edge. this will help create the illusion of moving water, which is what we are after at this point in time. All right, so rock shapes in place, and let's just get to the part where we want to deal with the water, and then we will see if we need any more detail on in the background set. So what we do is we wet the entire water area with a clean, damp brush, but we also are very careful to leave a small strip of white on top of these rocks to indicate the sunlight falling on them. Everything else is being wet very carefully. And once that is done, I'm going to mix up some ultramarine blue and light red. If you do not have light red, you could try burnt sienna, Indian red, maybe crimson, it doesn't matter. You're looking for a blue that is tending towards purple. And what we do is let's make sure it's wet. So we're working wet, and we're making sure the paper is soaking wet while we do this. And what we do is we use quick strokes to indicate flowing water, like so. And then just make sure we run it along the edge of the rocks so that it creates an impression of light falling. See how that worked? So there's light falling on these rocks now, and then maybe a little bit here as well. Yeah, that should do. And then we pick up the same ultramarine light red mix. Just making it thicker because we're now moving towards the foreground a little bit. Then just run the brush along the wet surface.
The water towards the back. What color have you used there, Sujit?
This one here?
Yeah.
There's ultramarine, French ultramarine mixed with light red.
Okay. And then the one towards you?
It's just exact. It's the same mix, except I added more light red to it to make it look thicker.
Okay.
It's exactly the same mix, except because this is the foreground, I'm just making it. I'm just using a stronger mix.
Got you. Okay, thanks.
All right. So this is a mix of ultramarine blue and light red is what it is. You could use any blue and any like cobalt, for instance, works. It doesn't matter what you use, as long as it's not a blue that is leaning towards green. For example, Prussian, for instance, is a blue but it's got a lot of green in it.
Yeah.
That might not work with flowing water because flowing water is always bluish and white, never green. But if you still water is green a lot of times, so you've got to be careful with the blue you choose. All right, so as you can see, with very few strokes, we've established we've created the illusion of water flowing down. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just dropping in a few darks in places. It's exactly the same mix, except I just darken it with more light red. You could use burnt sienna as well, and just drop in some of those in places, and that will make sure that it creates some form. So
Rajesh has got his hand up, so I'll just bring Rajesh in. You'll need to unmute Rajesh.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, sorry, Rajesh registered for me. I'm Snehal here. Just wanted to know which are the brushes you are using, and which are other brushes, like especially for watercolors, available in the stores.
Okay. Which, as in, is a question about the brands of brushes or the size or both?
Yeah, both. Just wanted to know everything about the brushes.
Okay, so I'll get to that question really quick, but I need to cash in on the wetness of this paper right now.
Okay.
So let me get that done, and then I'll get to that. Is it okay?
Thank you.
Sure,
Thank
sure.
you. We'll answer it in a moment. Thank you.
Yeah, just give me a few moments. I'm just making sure I strengthen the ducts over here, because it's this portion here is going to be away from the light, so I want to make sure the ducts are dark enough.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much happy with what's going on right now, and I do not think I need to mess it up anymore. As artists, we all know when to start a painting, but we never know when to stop. So we keep going and going. So I'm just going to leave it at that. The only thing that is that might need some working is the background here. I think it's way too hazy and soft. I'd like to add a few more touches there, but otherwise, the most part of the painting is done at this point in time. I'll get to that, but before that, I'll answer. I didn't catch the name, but I'll answer your question.
I said Rajesh, but
yeah, okay, about the brushes.
Yeah.
All right, so let me first show you what brushes I have. I have a couple of mob brushes. These are from a company called Princeton. It's pretty good mob brushes. These are used for the large washes when I want to cover large areas like the sky, for instance, or basically the first few steps in my painting are managed with these brushes. And they have the ability to retain a lot of water because of the way the bristles are shaped. Plus, they also can come to a very fine tip. So these brushes are useful for not only for large washes, but also for working on details. So these are kind of multi-purpose brushes. All right, this one's a number 8, and this one's a number 10. That's weird. 10 should be larger than the 8. I do not know how it works. I'm sorry. So it's two brushes. Yeah, well, I guess this one's a different make, and then they have a different numbering system.
well, that'll confuse you, Rajesh. There we go.
All right, so then I have this. I have a large brush here. It's like a wash brush. This is what I use for I keep this clean. I do not ever dip this in any pigment whatsoever, because this is my brush that I use to wet my surface before I lay in my washes. So this brush always stays clean. The only place that it goes into is into my clean jar of water right here. So that's all it does. And then I have a flat brush. This is a 3/4 inch flat. I use it for my backgrounds and stuff, and allows me to have those big bold strokes, you know. So it's 3/4 inch flat. I also might have a flat which is an inch wide, but yeah, pretty much the same size. And then I have a couple of rounds. It's a number. This is a number 14 round, and this one's a number 8 round. These are used for the detailing, and I use this brush today a lot in these areas because of the size of the painting. Normally I paint larger. I paint a half sheet or full sheet, and in which case all the work that this brush did would have been done by this work, because this allows to cover large areas. This is basically used for detailing and to create well-defined shapes. And then this guy is my superstar. This is what's called a rigger or a liner brush. It's got a thin point, and I'm going to dip it in water and show it to you. It comes to a really fine point. See that? And this is the brush that is used towards the very end of the painting process to create those fine lines and those very fine details. But you have to be very careful to save it to the end, because if you start working on the detail to begin with this brush, then you get lost, and then it's going to ruin your painting, right? So this is what we have. As when it comes to brands, like I said, these are Princeton. This one's from a company called Utrecht. These ones are Escoda Prado. I do not have a preference for a certain brand of brushes. I think most of them available in the market are pretty good, except when you buy brushes, look for artist quality and look for one of the popular brands. You might be able to find really cheap brushes, but I think those are not a good choice. So go for one of the popular brands, like look for the rating or something like that if you're buying online. All of my brushes, all of them are synthetic brushes. So it says here, for example, it says Kolinsky imitation, made in Germany, and this one is also synthetic. But although they're synthetic, which means they're nylon, they're made in such a way, and these days the technology has improved so much that you cannot make out between a natural hair brush and a synthetic hair brush. The reason why I use synthetic hair brushes is because I think that no amount of skill or talent or ability to create a masterpiece will ever justify the killing of an innocent animal for pleasure. So I do not like to have natural brushes at all, but that's a person's choice. Apparently natural brushes perform much better than synthetic ones, but I'm happy with what I have, and so the choice is yours. I hope I answered your question. Yeah,
good on you. Well done, Sujit. However, I do have a bit of bad news because we've not got much time left. So were you going to do a little bit of that detail maybe a bit later on in the trees at the back, or? I was
going to quickly put in a few dabs of paint just to make sure that, you know, at this point I feel like this area is a little, you know, underpainted. So I'm just going to be really quick. I won't take more than 2 minutes, if that's okay.
No problem.
Yeah, all right. So here we go.
And while you're doing that, I'll mention to everybody that on YouTube, in the description, there's a link to a Facebook post that we've created about this Arty class. And if you could take a photo of the painting that you've done during this Arty class, if you could post it on that Facebook post, that would be brilliant, because then myself and Sujit can have a look at that later, and Sujit might even comment on some of the paintings. It's a really great, and it's just fascinating to see all the different styles and makeups of everybody's painting as well. So please do post it on there. Alternatively, if you are watching the webinar, you can find a link on Shopkeep Arty on this classes page, or literally just go to Facebook, search for Shopkeep Arty, and you'll find the post. It will be the top one on that page. That's probably the easiest way, to be honest. And then just make a comment and post your picture on there. But I'm sure Sujit will be fascinated to see everybody's paintings on that one.
Of course, I strongly urge you to do that, because what I've learned from painting all these years is that what each person sees is very different. So when I look at the scene, what I see and what catches my attention is probably different from what somebody else sees. So I'm very curious to know how each person will interpret a certain scene. So I strongly urge you to finish a painting, take a picture, and post it on the Facebook page so that I can take a look and, you know, just curious. So please do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's
all right. So as promised, I added some. I didn't take a little more than 2 minutes. I guess I added some darks here so that this portion here will pop. As you can see, the darks sort of push the rocks to the front a bit and create a little depth. Like I said, you could go on and on, but since we are out of time, I guess I'll just call it done. Is that what you want me to do?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. It gives us an idea, and obviously a lot of these techniques you can expand upon more in the longer workshop. The longer workshop is obviously, as it says, much longer, but also less people as well. So it's a lot more relaxed, and you can pick up loads of things. And as I hope that some of you have found out, if this was your first time doing a live Arty class, it is different because you can, as you're painting along with the artist, you'll think of questions that you may not be able to think of when you're just watching a pre-recorded video, and you can ask the artist there and then and get those answers. So it's a really great learning tool as well to do it in a live environment. So as we said, please post your pictures. That'd be fantastic. Hopefully you can see the link in the chat. So if you press chat, if you're on the webinar, you'll see the link there. Press that now, because as soon as we stop this webinar, it's gone. So you won't be able to find that link again. And similarly, if you're on YouTube, there's a link in the chat there. If you just press that, it'll open up a new tab on your browser, and then at least you can come back to that later. It'll still be open for the next hour or so, half an hour or so anyway. We've got another question about what are you using to scrap the color from tree? What are you using to scrape the color from the tree?
Scrape the color from the tree, is that a question?
Yeah, it was a question. Yeah.
All right, so
it's probably the tree in the background. So the tree in the background, yeah.
All right, okay. Because I did not scrape. I used my brush to lift off wet paint like so. Is what it is. So it's this brush here, the flat brush. When it's wet, it comes to a chisel edge, and then it's almost like a knife, and then it's very easy to run it along wet paint, and this just lifts off paint. That's what I did. But on the other hand, hang on a second, I need to grab it. There are two different ways of doing it. I'm sorry. So you could use a palette knife to do this, which is one way of getting that done, or you could use the edge of a credit card, like so. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, but more on this in the workshop, perhaps, since we are.
Yeah, we can do other little demonstrations on that in the workshop.
We'll talk about lifting out. We'll talk about scraping. We'll talk about negative shapes. We'll talk about how to use big bold strokes to merely suggest everything else and focus just on what's the point of attention in the painting and still make it work, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And plus talk about how to make sure that we choose the right mix of colors so that when they mix on the paper, they do not create mud, which watercolor is notorious for.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you very much. Now we are sort of at the end now, but just a couple of comments that have been coming in. So Roberta said, "I love Arty classes on Tuesdays. Then you see one you really want to take as an extended class of, and the prices are so great." So thank you so much, Roberta. I'm glad you're enjoying it, and I hope you're one of our patrons. If not, please be one of our patrons. Actually, being a patron is fantastic because you do get really great offers and deals. So do check that out if you're not. Bobby said, "Thank you. It's been real fun, even at 7 o'clock in the morning." So it's
so that's somebody from the United States, I suppose.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
Bijamon has said, "Is it fine to give more clarity to the yellow area?" Unfortunately, we've come to an end now, Bijamon, but I do urge you, if you want to find out lots more of the tips and techniques from Sujit, please do come and join us at the workshop in, I think it's just over a week's time. Wonderful experience, lovely yellow color of the tree from Shafali. So I'm glad you've enjoyed it, Shafali. Thank you from Donatella as well. Thank you from Sherry on YouTube. So I think we've had lots of people enjoying such a lovely time. So it's been a really great session. It's been fantastic actually to hear Rush Hour in the background in India.
Well, I'm sorry about that. But
no. It's really it's fascinating. It's fascinating. All these different places, everybody going about their daily lives. It's been really great. Love the finished product, and it's going to be fantastic to see what everybody else has come up with as well. And that Anjali, said, "Couldn't keep pace with Sujit, yet it was a wonderful experience." This is Anjali from Dubai, by the way, so you probably know Anjali from Dubai. Until next time, we've got a special patron class actually this Thursday, where we're going to be talking about all the future plans and different celebrities that we're going to be involving. We could even be doing a special Christmas edition. So anyway, I'm going to be talking with my patrons about that this Thursday. Next Tuesday, we've got Anya, a portrait artist, going to be absolutely fantastic. Got loads of things. And obviously we've got Sujit's workshop coming up. So please do click on that link if you want to join in. But until next time, it's been fantastic to have you here. Thank you so much. It's bye-bye from me, obviously. And of course, goodbye from Sujit. Thank you so much for your time, Sujit.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. It was fun painting in front of an audience, although it was live. And then I'm glad to know that a lot of people did enjoy it. I do look forward to meeting a good number of you in the workshop next Thursday.